Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of We Watch Shudder. My name is JD. Who's here with me?
It's Michelle.
It's Michelle. It's always Michelle.
Always me.
As it turns out, though, it's not always Shudder anymore. They gave us we got to do a new movie every week for a year, and then they were like, "Yeah, we're gonna slow our roll a little bit." And that
They're
brings
like,
us.
we really want to punish that podcast that took our name without permission.
Yeah, so now if they want to talk about other things, it has to be all weird because they got to explain why we're not talking about a Shudder movie on a podcast that's named about Shudder.
I mean, I don't think we have to explain it, but
I don't think
I'm
we do
only one
either.
half of this team.
What's happening right now is I have no idea whatsoever how to start this episode. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. Michelle just woke up from a long nap after a rough couple of days at work. I have a dog who won't leave me alone today for whatever reason. That's real stressful. That's definitely as stressful as international corporate training scenarios. Isn't
That's
it?
the best part about dog ownership, though, is that they love you so unconditionally and so hard.
It's creepy obsessiveness is what it is, Michelle. If a person did this to you, you would not be happy about it.
I was that person in junior high. I was basically a dog that just like followed people around like, I adore you. You are the best thing ever. Would you like to go outside with me and go for a walk?
Can you take me to the potty? Did you ask them that too?
Yeah. Yep. All the time. I was like, can you take me outside so I can pee in the grass? And they're like, this is why you don't have any friends. I was like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. I'll go home and play Final Fantasy VII again.
Dogs don't do that, Michelle. Dogs don't play Final Fantasy VII. They don't even play it
Maybe
once,
they
let alone
should.
play it again.
Maybe they should.
Yeah, but they can't because on account of their dogs.
Wow. I think it's sad that you're just assuming they can't in 2024 when anything is possible.
Would you? Oh, is anything possible, Michelle?
Absolutely.
Is
anything is possible.
Oh, is anything
All of
likely?
this is a simulation. They just have to change the code and then dogs can play Final Fantasy VII. And I think that would be a great DLC to add to the world.
Yeah, except if they don't change the code, then it's not possible. Do you see what I'm saying? It's only possible if they change the code.
And it's possible for them to change the code, so it's possible.
How do you know it's possible for them to change the code?
I'm one of the people who wrote the simulation we all live in. There, I said it. Cat's out of the bag. Meow.
So, Michelle, if you're one of the people who wrote the simulation, why do you need somebody to reprogram the simulation? Why can't you do it?
Oh, bureaucratic nonsense. There's so much paperwork involved. They don't just I'm not like the only person. What I say doesn't just go.
What you get for taking a corporate job to try and make a little bit more than a meager living out of your life, you know?
I chose this path so that dogs could play Final Fantasy VII, and I'm just waiting. It's like how people join like gangs just to like get to the person that they want to kill because that they have vengeance against the person who like murdered their parents or whatever.
Like
That's
that guy
me, but
from
dogs
New
should
York.
play Final Fantasy VII. Yeah.
They made that movie about him called Gangs of New York.
What? Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're here to talk about American Psycho.
What?
Which is not a Shudder movie right now. It's not a Shudder Archive movie. It was a Michelle selection. Michelle, why did you pick this one?
Well, it had been on my list to revisit for a long time. I've only seen it once, and it was quite a while ago. And then in yesterday's Michelle in Review episode, I had mentioned that I watched The Core on Shudder, which is a little series where they delve into different movies and they talk about special effects and then like what are some good movies from this specific genre, like slashers or whatever it may be. And American Psycho was covered on that again, and I learned some of the things that went into making the film, and I decided to bump it up the list. So when you said you wanted to watch something for May and that I could choose, I chose American Psycho. I was going to watch it anyway. May as well cover it on the show.
How long has it been since you saw this film?
Like 15 years, if I had to estimate.
Okay. Yeah, I was guessing probably about 20 or more. I did see it in the theater when it was originally released. I actually there's a reason for that. It's a ridiculous chain of events. I learned about. I guess let's roll back. Have you read the book?
Yes. You
Okay.
asked me that a couple episodes ago, but yes.
Okay. Well, maybe people
Now we can
listening to
talk
this
about it.
episode haven't listened to that episode,
But I
Michelle.
didn't know if you actually
No.
remembered.
I
I was
don't, of
curious.
course.
Okay, I knew
No.
you didn't. Okay. Yes, I've read the
So
book.
did you read the book before or after you saw the movie?
After, and quite a bit after, because I read it just a couple years ago.
Okay, cool. I read it before, so that'll give us some
Oh.
interesting angles to come at this from. We probably should have sorted all of this out behind the scenes before we started the episode, but fuck it, we're on a roll.
What do we have to sort out? I think it's going great.
Who do we have to impress? Nobody.
The dogs.
I got a little ahead of
I mentioned
myself. Like I said, we're talking about American Psycho.
Mhm.
For on the off chance that anybody listening has never seen the movie, Michelle, do you want to give them the plot synopsis courtesy of the IMDb?
Yes, according to the International Movie Database, this is the very long sentence as a summary.
It's a brutal sentence.
It is. A wealthy New York investment banking executive, Patrick Bateman, hides his alternate psychopathic ego from his coworkers and friends as he delves deeper into his violent, hedonistic fantasies. American Psycho, 2000, rated R, hour 42 minutes.
That is the movie we're talking about. Would you say, I don't know. See, again, I was aware of this movie when it came out, so I saw it. It's always been in my sort of scope of things. So I don't know, like, I'm not aware of how popular this was when it first came out, if it's considered more of a cult movie or what. But I gotta tell you, this movie said one set of things to me when I saw it in 2000, and it still says those things. But holy shit, in 2024, this movie has a whole lot more to say. And
Yes,
it's kind of watching through this again after all this time in the current climate. I was just like, oh, shit. How about you?
Well, I want to hear, since I would like to transition that to hear your spoiler-free rating, because that's kind of your spoiler-free thoughts.
Yeah, my
I'd like to know your
spoiler-free
rating.
thoughts. Quick things. First of all, this movie is way funnier than I remember it being. I knew it was funny, but it's way funnier than I remember it being. It's smart. It's well written. It's well directed. It's well performed. It has a lot. It's a precursor to also, like, this movie's talking about toxic masculinity long before that terminology was even being thrown around. This movie is great. I like everything about it. It's also one of the rare cases, and we'll talk about that down the line, where I think the movie is better than the book. And so this is a 5-skull movie for me. I loved, especially, I think if I had rated it in 2000 when I first saw it, it would have been more like a 4.5. On this rewatch, getting to come back to it with all the new context and such that it has for me at this point, this is a 5-skull movie for sure. I had a blast watching this.
Nice. I did not expect you to go 5. That is great. Great news.
Oh, this movie is fantastic,
like
Michelle. It's so good.
Would you
yes,
like
please.
my
I
thoughts?
would love your thoughts. What?
Okay.
Do you specifically need me to ask you for your thoughts every time now, Michelle?
That's our thing. Yeah,
Okay,
I'm not allowed to speak without permission.
Michelle,
That's
wait,
how
what?
my character. I wrote that into the code. That was a choice I made because I knew that the thoughts coming out of my mouth unfiltered would get me in trouble. So I am not allowed to speak without permission from anybody, not just a man.
I was just going to say, as long as the implication is not that I have banned you from speaking somehow. As if I
he
could.
was like,
You're
hey,
not
I know
even
we
in
have
the
this
room.
podcast. Yeah.
Right.
I know we have this podcast, but can you maybe talk less?
Look, you seem like a really nice person, but I'm going to need you to shut the fuck up now.
Shut the fuck up. Oh, my God. I need that on a shirt.
You guys, it dawns on me that we've referenced that a few times, but we never actually explained what it's about. when
so
we went to
good.
see Late Night with the Devil in the theater, it was several of us, but me and Michelle and Jenna, who was our guest on that episode, were all there, and Jenna was sitting between Michelle and I, and like we know each other, right? And so we were chatting through the trailers and everything, and right, like the film had barely run a frame. We had just gone down into, oh, lights coming down, it's feature time. Like maybe the first little bit has come up on the screen, and she made a comment to, I don't even remember what the last thing she said was, but I just turned to her and I said, look, you seem like a really nice person, but I'm going to need you to shut the fuck up now. And we all burst into uproarious laughter, and then we watched the movie. That's probably
Yeah.
a story I didn't actually need to tell because I just got to the
I
end of
think
it.
it's great.
I kind of wanted a cool story, bro, myself on that one. But
I had one of those moments earlier.
if
But
you
no,
were
I think it's a
there,
great story.
if you were
It's
there,
so
it was
funny.
a good time.
T-shirts
Use that on
coming
your
soon.
use that on your friends. Use that on your friends, you guys. Look, you seem like a really
You
nice
seem like a-
person, but I'm gonna need you to shut the fuck up now.
So funny. I want to say that to so many people.
I'm.
Okay, spoiler-free thoughts.
Oh God, we haven't even done your spoil. I'm sorry. I'm gonna put this
No,
microphone
it's
down.
okay. It's 1 a.m. We always blame it on the time as opposed to who we are as people.
These people
It's
are
1 in the
just gonna
morning.
get
It's not
sick
our
of
fault.
JD like beating himself up over all the wild like interrupting and shit that he does.
Oh, good. We've made it to the therapy portion of the show. I was worried we wouldn't get there. Okay, American
The whole
Psycho.
let's not kid ourselves, Michelle. At this point, the whole show is the therapy portion.
Yeah, that's true. Especially when we
Okay.
get into this one a little bit.
Please, Michelle. Spoiler-free thoughts.
I don't know what more I can say about this movie that other people haven't said in a much better way. But I completely agree with you that watching this 15-ish years later, it is an entirely different movie. I remembered this as a serious killing movie slasher thing. Watching it now, yes, hilarious. Oh my God. Did not remember the humor even a little bit. I've seen all the memes and I did not remember how funny the scenes those memes actually came from were. I debated going 5. It's not quite there for me. I do not fault a single person who thinks this is a 5. It is a great, great movie. It just doesn't belong in the category of 5s for me in particular. I am going to go with a 4.75 though. It's so close. It just is
All
not
right.
like one of my favorite movies ever. So 4.75 from me.
That's fair. That's very fair. I don't think anybody involved with the production of that film in any way would fault you for a quarter of a star, quarter of a skull.
Never know.
Excuse me.
You
That's
never
like
know.
that's like 4 skulls, and then the 5th skull is everything but the lower jaw, right? Just the mandible is missing. That's
Oh, you
that's
think
all
the
it is.
mandible and below would be a quarter? I guess that makes sense. The actual
I
brain
no, I
covering
mean,
bone part is
I
quite a
didn't
bit.
assume like I wasn't so much doing it like an actual math estimate. I'm just like, how would we make that look like on the 5 skull meter?
Graphically.
Yeah, we would
That's-
just pull the.
Hang on. Your skull does not just go like it's not split up and down when you're looking at it graphically for ratings. Yours is like across the like left to right is where your line is.
Yeah, it goes from left to right.
Interesting.
It doesn't go. Michelle, so when you go to Shutter, it has your skulls vertical.
Yes. Hang on. Now
I
have to
don't
go
believe
look.
you.
Hang on.
I don't believe
I don't
you at
think
all.
they ever have half a skull. They're all full skulls.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever seen a half a skull.
They don't. No, they don't do half skulls on there.
Yeah.
How did we get here? I'm just saying. What I would do is, I was just trying to make a metaphor that it was like 4
But
full
now I gotta
skulls and then
know.
1 skull with a. Holy shit! Let's talk about the movie. Wow. I sure hope this isn't the first episode of this podcast you guys have ever heard, or maybe
hope it
I
is.
do.
We are killing it. We're doing so good.
Maybe I
We got this,
do.
JD.
Look,
Out
if
of the
you-
therapy portion into the toxic masculinity fire.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the movie yet, that's on you. We're about to spoil the shit out of it. Stop now and go watch it if you haven't seen it yet. Michelle,
Yeah.
I believe you have a wonderful summary concocted already in advance for this particular movie, don't you?
No, I forgot
You
again that I
you
do this.
you just gave it to
I
me
never
earlier.
prepare.
You said Batman
Oh,
becomes a
okay.
psycho.
Oh yeah, I didn't come up with the whole thing, but yeah, my summary of this movie is that Batman's pissed and he's on a rampage. The part where they find out that Patrick Bateman's parents actually own the company that he works for. This is the alternate universe where Batman's parents were not killed and now he works for his dad and he has to kill people. Batman doesn't kill people, Patrick Bateman does. He tries to feed a cat to an ATM. He beats up a homeless man and his dog, which is very upsetting.
Beats them up. He
He
kills them both. He doesn't just beat them
well,
up.
yes, he beats them up to the point where they're dead. Okay,
He
I
stabbed
buried the
that
lead with that
guy.
one.
And
Yeah, he beat him up with a
look,
knife.
I'm going to have to put a little warning here, but he doesn't just beat Michelle. Do you remember what he
Yeah.
did to that dog?
No, I looked away. I looked away.
Okay.
I couldn't.
Well,
Dogs
then
are
in
my
that
sensitive
case, I will
spot.
spare you the details on
Thank
what
you.
he did to that dog.
I could not look.
Holy
I heard it, and that was
shit.
enough for me. Yep. Nope.
Like I've seen
The animals are.
I don't want to put too much of a capstone on it. I've seen some violent animal deaths in some horror movies. This one really I'm not going to say it's the worst, but it
Ooh, now you gotta
Jesus.
tell me because I looked away. It wasn't gonna take anything away from me. I just could not watch it.
No,
What happens?
he just stomps the shit out of that little
Oh,
dog.
yes.
Just stomps it to and like from they did this very smart thing where like he gets the first one right on clearly like a little stuffed toy. Like obviously you didn't stomp on a dog. This isn't Cannibal
What?
Holocaust. But then they do this brilliant thing where they cut away to this sort of long aerial shot that's
The
farther
alley.
away, and Christian
Yep.
Bale is just stomping like a fucking
Yep.
madman. And the way they put that together to create that experience in your mind, it is one of the most violently, brutally impactful animal deaths in a movie I have ever seen. It's
Okay.
fucking.
I did see
It's
the
it's real. Like I was like, what the fuck?
yeah.
It's
So I
so.
did see the same
Ooh.
parts that you did. I looked away when it cut to the alley because then it was just sound and it was so much worse
Oh
for me.
yeah, yeah.
Because that oh man. Anyway, so Patrick Bateman, he's doing some bad stuff. He beats up the Joker, because again, alternate universe. And by beat him up, I mean stabs him, I guess. He murders the Joker. Batman wouldn't, Patrick Batman would. And then at the end, he's trying to confess to his crimes. Everything's falling down around him. And then his lawyer is like, no, it's impossible that you killed those people. And the real estate lady is like, no, there was no murder here. Please leave. And then he's just back to being like a corporate douchebag, but he's also very confused and he's still a sociopath, but at least he's got great skin. American Psycho. 2000,
Yeah,
hour
that's
14.
you skipped the whole part about how Willem Dafoe is a cop, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's the least interesting part. I love Willem Dafoe. It's just not the most exciting thing to happen here. The most exciting part is Huey Lewis in the news playing while
Tip
Jared
to
Leto
be
gets murdered.
square.
It's
Okay,
so
so
funny.
the first thing
Oh.
I need to talk about here, again, especially now, also in retrospect, now having seen his career, 20 odd years on, because this was Christian Bale, like, this was one of his early breakout roles, right? At least it's one of the first times I ever heard his name. And going back and watching this movie, that motherfucker is chewing scenery like his goddamn life depended on it. Like and we've learned that his level of commitment is great through other things, right? Like if you've never seen The Machinist, the lengths he went to transform
Oh,
his
yeah.
body literally, physically for that movie, my man's commitment is unquestionable. But he just dives into this character, and that's to me like this time around where just so much of the new comedy elements and the intensity of the comedy came from is he is fucking perfect as this character. Like when he's dancing, he's always got that fake smile and that fake chuckle, and it you wonder how anybody ever believes it because the look on his face is so fraudulent, but oh god, He was perfect in this movie. It was so good.
I need to make an amendment to one of your statements. This came out in 2000. What we all know Christian Bale from, or at least us musical girlies know him as, is Jack Kelly from the Newsies in 1992. So I do need to make an amendment that Christian Bale's breakout role was fucking Jack Kelly, and he
I'm
killed
pretty
it.
sure if you roll the tape back, Michelle, I said one of his early breakout
Yep.
roles.
But the Newsies is not one of them. It is the breakout role as Jack Kelly.
Yeah, and then
Role,
what else did
that
he
role.
do between that and American Psycho?
He voiced Thomas on Pocahontas.
Yeah, exactly. What else? Nothing. Nothing.
I know. I just
And
need to
then
shout
and
out
then
to
and
Patrick
then look at
Bateman
his
and the
yeah.
Newsies.
But
Uh,
no,
yeah,
I could watch him play this character all day long.
when I watched The Core, they went into some of the things that had gone into making that movie. And one of my favorite things is that Christian Bale opted to dance. That was not a thing that was written into the script. He just went for it, and we get the best
It's
scene from the
beautiful.
movie.
Oh yeah, when he's dancing around in the raincoat with the axe. God
Just
damn it.
so happy. And
Just
just his monologues while he's doing these like very weird sociopathic things, because in that one it's hilarious where he's about to murder Jared Leto, but then later on with
I
the
mean, who
sex
doesn't
workers where
want to
he's
murder Jared Leto?
I love Jared Leto. I love Jared
He's
Leto.
all
I don't even
Morbin.
care.
He's been
I know.
Morbin
I
for a
loved
couple of
him.
years now.
It's Morbin time. I loved him on the Late Show with Jared Leto. Did you ever see that? Do you ever hear about that?
No,
Did you ever hear about
no, I don't want to.
anyway?
Anyway,
So
continue.
that part's hilarious, but then they do it again later with the sex workers where he's I don't remember which album he's talking about then or which band, but he's just going off and then being like, "Oh, now we're going to pose you like this." And he just like
I think it
breaks
was
it just to
Genesis.
okay. Believe you.
Hmm.
I'm not familiar with Genesis at all. So that's why I don't remember. But he just like stops to like say things to them, and then we go to the part where he's having sex with them and just checking himself
Just
as he's
checking
filming it, and that's
himself out in the
great.
mirror.
Yeah, so we
It's
go from bizarre behavior, hilarious behavior, and then those women leave in a not good way at
yeah.
all. It
I
just
wanna I
it's a
wanna come
stark
back. Yeah,
contrast.
I wanna come back
Ooh.
around and talk about that in just a moment. But yeah, he, man, if he threw that dancing bit in there as just an ad lib, he deserves a fucking Oscar for that scene alone. And just
God,
that
it's so
decision,
good.
like that little dance routine elevated everything to just a completely different level. And then just that glorious grin on his face when he just says, "Hey, Paul," and Paul turns around and he just fucking axes him in the face. The blood splatter on that, by the way, was perfect. Whoever their special effects person was, also give him all the awards. Holy shit, that scene, that sequence is incredible. Do you have a favorite kill in this movie, Michelle?
Oh, that one. Of course.
Oh,
Of
okay,
course, that
okay.
one. Every time I've axed somebody in the face, it's been just like that. I mean,
Sure.
it's
So
so good.
so
It's hilarious.
before we get into detail about also the shifting tones in the violence, because I obviously, like, this movie has been analyzed and torn apart, and there are theories and ideas or whatever about what it's about and what's really going on. But one of the big things is, as of course illustrated by the sketchbook that Gene finds at the end of the film, and then as evident as sort of backed up by his lawyer telling him it's not possible he killed Paul Allen. He had dinner with Paul Allen in London just a couple of days ago or whatever. Um, the suggestion that none of this is real, that he never actually killed anyone, and that's going on. All of that violence is fantasy that he's experienced, like, but to a delusional level where he actually believes he's doing this. Is that the impression you get from this? Do you think that's the story happening here, or
I will give a part answer because after watching it the second time, I had to go see what people who made it had to say about it.
okay?
I will say that I had no idea.
Really?
I went back and forth. Part of me thought like, yeah, it's in his head, but then part of me thought like, oh, it's a conspiracy because he's so rich that like his parents covered it up or something.
Well, and that is, and that's definitely there. Bret Easton Ellis, the guy who wrote the book, like that ambiguity is deliberate. Like it's
Yep.
very much that idea that maybe none of this actually happened, and the linchpin to that, again for me, is that notebook with all of the illustrations. I guess one could say he's just doodling his memories of the things he had done. But yeah, did that, like, are these incredibly wealthy real estate people so worried about the idea of murder victims being found in their apartment that they would just clean it up and make it disappear and act like it never happened? I don't know. Maybe that's something that, I mean, we know that rich people make murders disappear, right? We know that's a
Yeah,
thing that
Boeing.
happens. So
Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. Okay,
no.
sorry, what?
Anyway, yeah. So you're not wrong.
I know.
But so that element, and this is one of the reasons why I feel like the movie I feel is better than the book, because when I read the book long before I saw the movie, I read the book because in 1996 Jerry Only and his brother Doyle put the Misfits back together without Glenn Danzig, and the first album they released was called American Psycho, and the title song is based or inspired by that book. And so then I found that book and I read it, and the book is, I didn't enjoy it. Ellis's writing style is just not one that really works for me, but I felt like those themes and those ideas, that maybe none of this was real, maybe it was all, psychotic fantasy in his head. I didn't pick that up from the book at all. When I saw the movie, I was like, oh shit, this all makes a whole lot more sense now. I feel like the movie, at least for me and the way I digest stories, was more successful at communicating those ideas. Because Ellis has also said that, like, a part of the point of the book and the story is that there's all this ambiguity going on a number of levels. You said you did some research on what the filmmakers have to say about it. Fill me in.
Yeah, first I want to comment on the book because for
Sure.
people who do remember the conversation that we had about whether I'd seen the book, I had offhandedly said, "Yeah, I enjoyed it," right? At the same time that you said you didn't enjoy it. And then after we got done recording, I went, "Did I actually enjoy it though? I don't remember. I just remembered the violence being insane." There's a particular thing where he kills his ex-girlfriend Bethany with a nail gun in the face, and then I believe, if I remember correctly, he nail guns her hands to the floor, and that was like almost too much brutality for me in a book. I read a lot of Stephen King. Something with the way that scene was written, I was so uncomfortable, which is very interesting to me because I think Stephen King could explain the entirely same, like the exact same scenario, and I wouldn't have been as upset by it. It was just something with like the cold, calculated way that he did it. But outside of those scenes that really stuck with me, I don't think I overall enjoyed the book. And it was similar to Deadstream, a movie that we've reviewed for this podcast, where the character was portrayed so well that I then couldn't like it because I'm just listening to this guy who's just like a piece of shit. As a human being, he's insufferable. Even if he wasn't a killer, I would hate him. And then he's also killing people, and I'm listening to him explain how great he is, and I think I was rolling my eyes through a significant portion of it. So incredibly well written, but God, I hated him. I hated him so much.
Oh yeah, which again, as
Yeah,
you understand,
you're
you're
not
supposed
supposed to
to.
like him, but that
Right.
meant that I didn't enjoy reading it. So it was
Sure.
effectively done.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so I had dug in a little bit to how the filmmakers felt. And basically they all come down on it's supposed to be ambiguous. And that's the part that I did not know. I knew I felt like I did not know. I did not know if they knew that there was a reality of what was supposed to be going on. And everybody is in agreement that it's way better if it is ambiguous
Oh
and not
sure.
spelled out.
Right.
So I was I was glad to see that solidified. I wasn't sure if I just missed something and it was supposed to be like this gigantic twist, or if it was supposed to be like a is it not? So that's kind of, I
So
just went and I listened to some reviews with a bunch of people
so
involved.
do you have an interpretation that you have settled on yourself?
I like the conspiracy one.
What,
I
that
really do.
that like his parents and everything is just being covered up by the ultra wealthy, and he actually killed all these people?
Yep.
Okay, so then explain how the lawyer had dinner with Paul Allen in London.
He
Are you
didn't. He was
suggesting
paid
he
off by
didn't? He's
the
part of the conspiracy?
Yeah, his parents said like if anybody asks, you saw Paul Allen in
Okay.
whatever country, and they gave him a
Interesting.
lot of money. That's why he's so
Interestingly
uncomfortable during
enough,
that
I
conversation.
I feel like in a way my response is a little bit more bleak. Because I think it's a combination of the two, and I'll explain to you why. I think a lot of this violence is all in his head. A lot of it is stuff he never happened. It's his fantasies about what he would like to do to the people that he considers his peer group or whatever. Paul Allen. But here's the thing. I think any of these death scenes that involve somebody from his status level, whether it's the Paul Allen murder or when he almost murders Gene, or when he murders who am I thinking of? When he has the second incident with the prostitute, and then there's the
The
second
ex
lady
girlfriend
is one
Bethany.
of his friends. Yeah.
Yep,
Um.
that's the one from the book. That's why I remember her.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So those kills have things represented in the sketchbook. Like if you go back and look at the images.
Yep.
Here's what I think, though. I think those are fantasies. I think when he murders the homeless man, he actually murdered that man. I think the first experience with that prostitute, when he brings just her and the high-end call girl in, and they walk out at the end, they show you that drawer of torture instruments, and they walk out at the end, I think that's real. And I think that's part of what they're saying, or at least that's part of the theme that I picked up, is that he is channeling his inner fantasy, because clearly one of the big themes about this is he hates everything about the world he occupies, and yet everything about his life is designed to occupy that world, right?
Mm-hmm.
He fucking loathes all of these people, but everything he does is to be part. He says just very directly he says, I want to fit in, right? So to me, what this is this is a man who knows he is impotent to do anything to those people that he really wants to kill, and he takes out his violence on people that he sees as being beneath him. And that's a like that to me is like that was a bit that I didn't pick up on 20 years ago when I was watching this, and that takes this incredibly funny movie and for me puts a like that sequence. I think it's also very telling that they show us the torture implements and they only show us the aftermath. They don't show us what he's doing. I think that's very important because we see the brutal graphic stuff in great detail. This is a movie that is not afraid of showing us things. So why didn't it do that? And that to me just says everything, because there's a reality there that we were not prepared to split through. And so that's kind of how I take it. I think some of it is delusional. I think some of it is real.
Mine is also partially delusional. An ATM did not tell him to feed a cat to it. So
Right.
there's definitely
Right.
like those clear cut moments of like, okay, clearly some of this is in your head.
Yeah.
It does, I think potentially it actually does lean on the side of, yeah, this is delusional. And I had read a bunch of stuff because I watched it a couple days ago, and a lot of people fall kind of where you do on it. The reason I like the conspiracy route is just because it's fun. I think
Oh, for
that's such
sure.
a fun fun theory to it that everything is a conspiracy.
Right.
And I kind of, for me, that's like even bleaker, and that's why I like it, because
Sure.
he doesn't even know what his reality is.
Well, and
Because he thinks he's doing these things, and then they're covering it up, and he's like, what the fuck is going on? What do you mean I didn't kill anyone, when he knows he did?
because
So he's
that's who he
delusional
wants to
about.
be ultimately, right?
Yeah,
That's who he wants to be. He wants to be the
exactly.
fucking lion that murders them all and takes command of everything.
Yeah. So
Uh,
then finding out, like, oh, well, did I actually do that? And like him kind of being subjected to his own insanity. That's the reason I like that theory, is just because I think it's very fun that he's like, what the fuck? Did I murder a person? I thought I finally murdered all these people
right,
that
right.
I hated, and I was getting my aggression out. But now I'm finding out that I never even did that. Like, what do you mean? So I that's why I like the conspiracy. I think like his own inner spiral of like, okay, well, if I kill a person, are they going to disappear again? Like, just
Sure.
the rest of his life is like, should I even try murdering a person? Will I know if I did it? I think that being like a very confusing lifestyle, it's just more fun for me. So that's the
Sure.
one I go with. I just,
Uh,
if there's a conspiracy option, I'll go with the conspiracy option.
that's fair. That's fair. Can I tell you about
Yeah.
some other things that I picked up on this time around
Yeah,
that never occurred to me?
absolutely.
Two small things that linked up, and I realized they're very, very much intertwined, but they happen just completely independently. There's that moment I mentioned where he's talking with Evelyn, and he says, "Because I want to fit in." And then
Hmm.
there's that subtle moment that they just blow by in a completely different scene where it's mentioned that Patrick's father runs the company.
Hmm.
And there is so much contained about his personality and his motivation in those two sentences, right? Because he's very clearly like he's fighting this nepotism thing. He's trying to prove that he actually deserves to be here, and like I'm sure he gets a lot of ribbing about his parents operating the company or whatever. Um, I really liked that. Um, the one that really gets I'm just gonna hit you with a question here based on the whole
Oh
idea
no.
that that this may all be going on in his head. And again, assuming that everything is ambiguous deliberately and there is no
Yep.
for sure answer.
Yep.
Have you ever considered the possibility that he is not even actually Patrick Bateman?
No.
Okay. And see here's where it came is I started thinking there's the bit at the beginning where he goes through that monologue, and one of the key lines is in the monologue is there's an idea of a Patrick Bateman, but no matter what you think, no matter what I am simply not here. And then I started thinking
Hmm.
about like all these like the way that like everybody is constantly mistaking people for other people and nobody
Yep.
really knows for sure who any of the did you happen to notice by the way for the most part if I'm not mistaken it's only the men who never get anybody's names right, the women always know exactly who they're talking to, and that's the
Uh,
one thing
except
the drunk
except when
one
like,
Bethany it
yeah.
doesn't, right, but
And I thought the fiance was like, why did she call you that at some
right,
point?
no, that's what I'm saying, the
Oh, okay,
the
that same one.
right, yeah, that whole
Yeah.
and again, I'm not saying this is something. It's just an idea that hit me. Just like, what if he's not even like, what if he killed Patrick Bateman and assumed his identity, and none of these people even know because he just moved in, right? Uh, I love how much little things that are completely innocuous just infuriate this man.
The
So
business
he
cards.
throws that
The
when
business
they throw
cards.
Paul Allen throws that business card on the table like he it's a rage that I have rarely seen and it's fucking hilarious.
15 years ago, I didn't get it. I thought there might be something that like one business card was better than the other, and I just didn't understand business cards. There's
Right.
so much stuff that like I just chalked up to I'm ignorant about corporate lifestyle. And now I am in corporate lifestyle, running the simulation that we're all a part of.
Oh,
And I will
sure.
be putting
Yeah.
in a request so that dogs can play Final Fantasy 7. But now I'm part of that corporate lifestyle, and I'm like, oh no, those are the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
And
think like
it's,
being able to see that now, like that's where so much of this humor I missed the first time because I
yeah.
went, I'm just dumb and don't know things. And now I'm like,
Yeah.
oh no, that's actually really funny.
Yeah. And then the way he panics when Lou is his name Lewis, but the guy in the bathroom thinks Patrick's coming on to him. Yeah, Lewis
Yes.
Carruthers, I think is his name. And
I
he
know
just
I know the guy. I need to go look at what else he's been
he
in because
just
I know that guy from so much stuff.
he just freaks out because God forbid anybody get that idea about him. He's
Yep.
so insanely concerned with status. Hey Michelle, who does Patrick Bateman remind you of recently?
Batman. Is that the wrong answer? Is it not
That's the
Batman?
no.
Recently, Patrick Bateman reminds me of
Incredibly
recently.
wealthy Wall Street tycoon who just
Oh, are you gonna go off about
scummily.
Trump again?
I'm not going to go off about him, but no, that's just look. Let's not.
Patrick Bateman is Trump.
No, no. What I'm saying is like that whole period of our lives that
Mm.
we've gone through is almost single-handedly responsible, at least for me, for unlocking so many layers of this, right? Just these levels of these people who are so one of the biggest moments to me where this really hits one of those satirical social commentary notes is the second time he goes to pick up the prostitute, right? And she's
Mhm.
been through this once, and she's nervous and anxious. And it's a perfect statement about the nature of the wealth disparity between these two people. Is she is obviously not wanting to have anything to do with this because she knows where it's going to go. She knows what's going to happen, and she doesn't want to do it again. But she's desperate. And there is this amount of money that is so much that she will go through this again because she is so desperate, and that amount of money is so significant to her. And he could light it on fire or just throw it in the trash, and it would mean nothing. It would mean absolutely nothing. And that scene just carried so much more weight for me as a 43-year-old American than it did as a 20-year-old American. Holy shit. Like that scene, those are the darkest parts of the movie to me, is those two sequences with the streetwalker prostitute. That's where the movie really, for me at least, got really fucking bleak and dark because of those elements involved.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Especially the one that hits the hardest for me is that very first one with the sex worker, where or two of them, and he's monologuing about movies and or music as he's making them pose and then having sex and then afterwards pulling out those implements. I think that one, the fact that we didn't see it, which you had talked about a little bit earlier, that's the one that stuck with me more than any of the overt violence did, aside from Jared Leto getting killed because that was very funny. But like him even like chucking a chainsaw down a stairwell and killing the lady the
It's
second time, that wasn't
so
as good
ridiculous.
as that first
And
one where we
that
saw
to me is
nothing.
one of the big things that's like, okay, this isn't real, right? There's no
But I want
way.
it to be real.
There's
But I
no
want it.
way he successfully just followed her around and timed that perfectly. There's no way. No
But I hope
way.
he did. So
Oh, of
that's
course.
why I lean on the side of conspiracy because it's hilarious. I want that to be the truth.
Oh. Yeah, I
Yeah.
there were just so many more layers of this that I was able to unpack this time around that I just didn't have the understanding of the world to recognize 25 years ago or whatever. And yeah, I'm so glad you brought this up because for a minute I was like, I don't know if I'm really gonna want to go back and watch
You just
this,
remembered
but
toxic masculinity, but in a positive light, like I
oh,
did.
yeah. Well, no, yeah. I just remembered the idea. I just specifically remember the idea of this wealthy and powerful guy who may be getting away with murder, right?
Yep.
And there are levels of nuance in it that I just never saw. And
Yep.
it's man, this is a fucking fantastic movie. Mary Harron and Gwen Turner knocked it out.
My closing thoughts are that Lewis Carruthers was played by Matt Ross, and I had to go to his IMDb page because I was like, yeah, right. I wanted to go figure out what he was from. Emery Waterman, Rose Red. Oh my God, Rose Red was a very monumental moment in my life. So Emery
Oh,
Waterman was
fair
Lewis
enough.
Carruthers, and that's important.
Man,
Rose Red.
I ended up having some thoughts about this movie, Michelle, and I'm like, no, seriously, I am so glad you made me watch this again because it's one that I very honestly could have probably gone the rest of my life without going back to, and I am so glad I did because for again, if for no other reason at all, throw away all the layers of story that I picked up on this time. Christian Bale's performance in this is a goddamn treasure. Like this is a movie I'm gonna come back to and watch probably more frequently now, just to watch that man just chew this shit up. It's so good.
I am going to start recommending other movies that you probably won't like, but the problem will be that you actually don't like them.
You
So
know what? Here's what I'm really concerned about now is because the schedule is out, so people know. We
Mhm.
have a Mother's Day
Oh
special coming up.
no.
And I
Oh
said to
yeah.
Michelle, because my original plan was I was going to be like, oh, let's watch Mother's Day on Mother's Day. And it's a trauma film, and we had that whole trauma debacle with the Toxic
And
Avenger
I already
stuff.
had thoughts.
And
I
I
wanted
said,
to see
Michelle,
Mother.
you pick a
Yeah.
mother, maybe Carrie, that's a mother themed movie. There's some. And Michelle said, oh, okay. I'm going to make you watch that fucking Darren Aronofsky movie, Mother, that I saw
Mhm.
once back in the day when I still said movies sucked. And man, did I say it about that movie a bunch, and I said it loudly. I would emphatically say today that that movie was not for me, and I haven't seen it since. And I don't like Aronofsky at all, and I can't believe you're doing this to me. But
I
now
hope
I'm
you
worried.
wind up liking
Now I'm
it.
worried that we're
Yeah.
gonna go back and watch it, and I'm gonna be like, "Oh my god, this is so much better than I ever thought it was." I mean, I'm
Will
not
you
super
admit it
worried because
though?
it's fucking Aronofsky, and that guy has
Yeah.
one story that he tells, and it's obsession ruins lives.
I'm so excited. This is my Aronofsky month. Next week, I get to go see his movie at the Sphere. And then in a couple weeks after that, or actually, no, while I'm also in Vegas, we'll record the episode for Mother.
Have you
Because
seen
Mother's
all of
Day
his
is.
films, Michelle?
I've seen most of them.
Have you seen
I've,
Pie?
yes. Great,
Okay.
great movie.
Well, that's one way to look at it.
Yeah. The only one I think that I can say I outright did not enjoy was The Whale. And we should probably not get into my thoughts on that one right now.
Yeah, Michelle went out of her way to help me get a copy of that film in a way that didn't involve giving any money to anyone because fuck those people. I still love you, Brendan Fraser, but you made a bad decision. Um, I still haven't gotten around to watching it because I
Yeah.
can't bring myself. Anyway, this isn't the I Hate Darren Aronofsky podcast. I'm just saying Michelle's gonna make me watch Mother, and I'm really not happy about it because there's a slight chance I'm gonna end up liking it, and I don't want that to happen. If that happens,
Well,
Michelle, I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do to you, but it's gonna be real mean.
I won't get into this super a ton right now. I am going to turn our Mother episode into an Aronofsky discussion in general, but I do need to know, just because I don't, did you like Requiem for a Dream?
No, I don't like anything he's done.
You didn't like Black Swan either.
No,
Okay,
no.
fascinating. Yeah, we'll have a lot of stuff to
Let me
talk
let
about
me.
on the Mother episode.
Okay, I will say this. there was a time in my life where I was depressed and miserable and self-loathing enough to find some kind of value in the man's work. I am not that person anymore. I'm not saying I don't still have my depressions and my mental health struggles, because goddamn it, I do. But I'm a very different person than I was when I liked that stuff, and there's not a single thing he's done that I can watch anymore and enjoy. I've tried.
Okay.
Ugh.
I'm looking forward to the Mother episode. I'll be in Vegas, so I'm going to go get shit-faced before we record this, because I will be surrounded by alcohol.
But isn't the movie you're watching in this... Isn't the movie you're watching in the Sphere a documentary?
Oh, no, that one's a fictional. Oh, wait, no, it is a documentary. Okay. Sorry. Yes, it's documentary, but it's also sci-fi, so I think there's like a mix of both.
Oh, God. And then you're going to...
See, and I don't know. Here's what I hate. Movies that are not real documentaries, that are like mockumentaries, are listed under the documentary genre in IMDb now. So I don't know when something's fictional or not.
Light them on fire, Michelle. That's ridiculous.
I know. Yeah, it's a new thing. I've started realizing it. That's why, since this one says documentary sci-fi, that's why I think it might be at least somewhat fictional, because the ones that are actually documentaries are just listed as documentary. If it's a mockumentary or it has a fictional component, then it goes into two genres normally. But I will report back. I'm sure you're going to want to know.
Together. Yeah. IMDb.
Yeah, it's been pissing me off. I've been watching so many horror movies lately where I'm like, this is not real, right? Yeah. Oh shit, Michelle. So it's Wednesday, May 2nd, as we record this, 1:45 in the morning. Yep.
No, Thursday, May 2nd. Excuse me.
Oh my God, it's Thursday. I leave in 4 days.
You leave in 4 days.
You leave tomorrow.
I leave in 36 hours.
Yeah.
On a whirlwind bus trip to Chicago for the Chicago Horror Film Festival halfway to Halloween edition, of which We Watch Shudder is an official sponsor. Michelle, I'm so fucking excited. I wish you could come with
jealous. Me. I know, me too. But
it's gonna
Vegas
be so
trip
much fun.
And heart test.
Yeah, you want
I did think when you said like, oh, you're going to get your heart tested right before you fly, what if they tell you that you can't fly? And I really I thought about that for like 3 days afterwards. Like, oh no, you have a point. Like, what if they tell me I can't fly? And then I remembered, doctor's orders are just suggestions. So I'll still get on that plane. It'll be a great way to die. So.
Michelle, no.
I want to die in a way that traumatizes others to make sure that I come back as a ghost.
Look, I still have at least a year and a half of this podcast in me, but I can't do it without you.
Yes, you can. Ouija board, spirit box. There's so many ways I can still be involved. I'll be like, what'd you think of this movie? Not for me.
Michelle, yeah. You know ghosts aren't real, right?
Oh, do not even. Do not even.
All right, well, the dog just started barking about something, and I'm not sure what it is, but we should probably go investigate. Everybody's already tuned out. We stopped talking about American Psycho fucking 20 minutes ago, but...
You said that there was a time when you were full of self-loathing enough that you could like Darren Aronofsky, and yet here we are. Mother needs to get revisited.
Okay, yeah, Riley's really getting out of hand here all of a sudden. Say goodnight, Michelle.
That's fair. Yeah, good night, Michelle.
For more horror content, visit WeWatchShudder.com, where you'll find our world-famous, patent-pending Ghoul blog and Squelch files, as well as a schedule of upcoming episodes. Find us on social media at WeWatchShudder on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and I guess Twitter, if you're still doing that for whatever reason. You can email us. mail@WeWatchShudder.com is the address. mail@WeWatchShudder.com. You can even call and leave us a voicemail, 701-566-9510. No, really, 701-566-9510. Give it a shot, see what happens. We Watch Shudder is a production of Rat Factory Media.